Cardinals face the Eagles with a young quarterback that can run and throw at home. This last weekend in Week 15 of the NFL, they held on to a 33-26 win to take their record to 8-6 on the year, and they stayed in the 7th playoff position. I'm Steven McCollum, and this is the Cardinals Rewind podcast, main event podcast, something we do every week, chronicling the Cardinals 2020 season. I had to think what year it was because, of course, we're at the end of 2020. We are going into Week 16 of the NFL season. It's exciting that the Cardinals are an 8-6 record. If I would have told you at the beginning of the season the Cardinals were going to be 8-6 in Week 16 and in a playoff fight, and even if it's the 7th seed, you would have been ecstatic. Now, how they got there, I understand there's a little bit of disappointment. 6 wins to start the season, 4 out of 5 game losing streak. So I understand there's a little bit of unweariness on it, but they are a good team. Are they the best team? Absolutely not, but they are better than average, and they are leaps and bounds ahead of where they were just 2 years ago in the Wilkes era, and even last year when they won 5 games with Kyler Murray in his rookie stint. So let's get into this one here, right? Eagles came to town. And on last week's podcast, I said in my preview of this game that the Cardinals need to keep Jalen Hurts in the pockets and make him throw the football. The first start that he had against the Saints, he wasn't very good throwing it. He was great running the ball, 100 and something yards on the ground, and that was going to be the key for a young quarterback. They like to scramble out. They don't necessarily know how to do the progressions as well. They can't read defenses as well. So keep him in the pocket and make Jalen Hurts throw the ball is what I said. Well, he showed that he could throw the ball also last weekend. He made some spectacular throws in clutch situations to wide receivers and of course, Zach Ertz, the tight end, that were just fantastic throws. He did take a few sacks. He did get hit a lot. He was 24 of 44, 338 yards throwing the ball, 3 touchdowns. Solid weekend for a rookie quarterback in his second start. You cannot argue with that at all. And it was a quarterback fest in this game where between Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. And Kyler Murray had his issues as well that we're going to get into. Of course, you know how we break it all down here if you've been watching this. Jalen Hurts also had 11 carries for 63 yards on the ground. So the Cardinals were basically playing a year younger Kyler Murray in this game. They practice against Kyler Murray all the time. You expect they know how to defend this type of quarterback. They had success, but they also struggled a little bit, right? Kyler Murray didn't run for big yardage in this game. He had 8 carries for 29 yards on the ground. But his scrambling, getting out of the pocket when the pressure came, opened up the offense, opened up the receivers so we could find open receivers down the field and caused some great plays to happen, especially to like Max Williams, the tight end. And, of course, D-Hop had spectacular catches, and so did Larry in this game. This offense, we've said it for weeks. We said it in their losing streak after Kyler got hurt with his shoulder. This offense goes as Kyler Murray goes, and that just strictly means when he's a threat to run the football, this team is better than when he is just sitting in the pocket right now. Kyler Murray needs to learn how to throw in the pocket and needs to learn how to operate in the pocket, but that comes in time. It's only his second year, and he has not gathered that yet. He needs to run around in order to hit open receivers and keep the offense going. Larry had a couple of unbelievable catches, as I said, including a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins had a couple. Literally, I just call them how did he catch that type catches. Tight ends got involved again. I already talked about Max Williams with the big catch running down the sideline. And then also Dan Arnold, again, stepped up in situations for some big yardage as well on a couple plays to extend some drives. Now, it wasn't a clean and perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. Cardinals look good. The Eagles look good. But also the Cardinals left the Eagles in the game with turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, inopportune times when they could have put the team away, the Eagles away. And also, end of the game, Cardinals couldn't put away with the running game. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the positive and negatives. One thing I'd like to say is the Cardinals, like they have in the past few weeks, they started off fast on their first drive, right? The offense, first drive, they went 9 plays, 62 yards, took 4 minutes and 38 seconds off the clock. They got all the way down, to the Eagles' 9-yard line. They had a big pass play. This is the one where Dan Arnold had that 25-yard pass play at the beginning of the game. Then, on top of that, 15-yard penalty on the Eagles, unnecessary roughness. So the Cardinals got even farther down. They went from the Philadelphia 45 to the Philadelphia 20 with a blink of an eye. Ding. Right? But then they get down to the Philadelphia 9-yard line. Kyler Murray drops back. First drive of the game. They're moving down the field, looking good. Kyler Murray throws a little short pass to DeAndre Hopkins around the 5-6 yard line. DeAndre Hopkins fumbles the football. If Eagles recover it. Okay, first drive of the game. Great drive. Took some time off the clock. Fumble the ball in the red zone. You never want to see, there's no opportune time for turnovers anywhere. You never want to see turnovers in the red zone. Those are killers every stretch of the imagination. And unfortunately, we're going to see it again later on in the game. But one thing I will say, right? After DeAndre Hopkins fumbled that, no points on this opening drive after they drove it, right? The defense of the Cardinals immediately goes in there and causes a safety because Jalen Hurts gets pressured in the end zone and throws the ball 20 yards down the field out of bounds, but he's not out of the pocket. Intentional grounding penalty in the end zone, which we all know happens. As Cardinal fans, we know what intentional grounding penalties are in the end zone. Kyler Murray has one. Cardinals get a safety. Right off the bat, after a turnover by the offense, after driving the football, Cardinals still get on the board. There's nothing. I consider turnovers and special teams plays, things that aren't supposed to happen. I consider those, all lump those in with turnovers. And anytime you get a play like that, a turnover, an interception, it's great to get points after it. And in this instance, the Cardinals are the one that fumbled the football, and they still got 2 points after the safety. It doesn't get better than that. You mess up, you don't get points on there, your defense goes out there and scores points for you right out the bat. It's the best way of scoring points after a turnover. Absolutely the best. So 2-0 Cardinals. Jalen Hurts right off the bat makes a rookie mistake. Expected. And as I said, Cardinals fans, we know how that feels. Kyler Murray has been guilty of that type of penalty as well in his young career also. Another positive in this game, special teams, man. What can you say about special teams? It's just, when the Cardinals, our special team is doing what they do, we saw it in the first game against the 49ers. We saw it in a couple other games there. We also saw where special teams let them down and it cost them the game. Absolutely. But in the first quarter, Cardinals are up 9-0. They had just scored a touchdown. Kyler Murray scored, ran off a tackle, and scored on an 8-yard touchdown run to go up 9-0. Philadelphia gets the ball back. Cardinals defense stops them. They only have 5 plays and 22 yards. The Eagles do. So they have to line up for a punt. Cardinals go back. Punt team's on. Gets in there. Blocks the punt. Goes down. And Cardinals get the ball. Block it backwards even. And it goes out of bounds. But the Cardinals get the ball at the Philadelphia 15-yard line. I'm sorry. At the Philadelphia 6-yard line. My apologies. And right off the bat. So Cardinals go down, get a touchdown to go 9-0. Eagles get the ball back. Defense does its job. Special teams does their job. Block punt. Cardinals back on the field in great field position in the red zone. And what do? The thing we all love to see, turnovers, special team battles like this. Cardinals go in and score immediately. 2 plays later, 6 yards, of course, being at the 6-yard line. 16-0 Cardinals. Blink of an eye in the first quarter after, the initial drive where they fumbled it. Fantastic. Cardinals scored twice off of errors by the other team, and that is how you get a 16-0 lead immediately. Drive the stake into the heart of the other team immediately. Love to see it. If you can score points after turnovers, we've talked about this all year, it sets you up for a victory in that weekend. Now, one of the negatives is Cardinals did let the Eagles back into this game, and we'll get into that, obviously, as we talk about this on the podcast. So, not only do the Cardinals get the special teams, the block punt on the special teams there, later on in the game, critical situation for the Cardinals. Their Eagles have come back. Cardinals have it. They get stuffed a little bit. 4th down for the Cardinals. Andy Lee comes in to have to punt the football. And just bad situation. Cardinals need to get something going on offense again. Andy Lee comes in and executes a fantastic fake punt. Let's take a look at that here.
To Jalen Reagor. Oh, he's going to throw it instead. And he completes it. Across the 50, Ezekiel Turner, who had the punt block earlier.
Fantastic. As you can see, a tie ball game late in the game, 26-26. 4th quarter. What was that, 10 minutes or so left in the game. Cardinals let them back into it. And that play right there, of course, went down. Cardinals scored on the drive. And fantastic. Special teams play. Can't argue with that at all. Puts a dagger in the heart of the other team when your special teams can do that type of stuff. And how often do you see a fake punt? It's fantastic. You cannot argue with that. Love it, love it, love it. And so 26-26, fake punt happens. Awesome. I can't even argue with that at all. There's just something. Special teams get so much, slack, I guess, when they mess up a lot. And it's just great to see when they do these things. So a block punt, you never see a block punt and then a fake punt in the same game. And just the way Andy Lee lobbed that ball out there, I mean, he put some air underneath it. Of course, it was a 26-yard pass. It was 4th and 2 at the Arizona 33 at that point. As I said, 26-26. And I think I misspoke a second ago. Cardinals did not score on this drive, but they were able to switch the field goal. They ended up losing it on downs later on 4th and 2 again at the Philadelphia 33. We're going to talk about that situation also. Field goal. I've been watching the field goals, as you know, all year. Mike Nugent, Zane Gonzalez, and I think it's official at this point. We can say the offense has changed due to the field goal kicker, and we'll talk about that when we get to our field goal section. But special teams positives this weekend, week 15 against the Eagles. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Absolutely great at that point. Another positive is Cardinals scored immediately and got points after those turnovers. I already talked about this. Obviously, we consider block punts an error. They scored right after the block punt. They got some immediate, Eagles scored, Cardinals scored. And, they let the Eagles back into the game, which is disappointing by any stretch. But there was a stretch of this game where, first quarter, Cardinals scored a touchdown to make it 9-0. Then they blocked the punt. Cardinals scored again, 16-0. Eagles went down and scored 7 on the next drive. Cardinals went down and got a field goal right after that. Then the Cardinals do what they do. And we're going to talk about this in the negatives, the fumbles and turnovers. But then the Cardinals fumble the football, and the Eagles go down and score a touchdown. What do the Cardinals do? Go down and score a touchdown again. But then they let the Eagles go down and score a touchdown right before half there as well. In the second half, Cardinals throw an interception. This is the bad part. This is when it doesn't work. Cardinals throw an interception. Eagles get a touchdown. Next drive is the one we talked about with the fake punt, turnover on downs. 26-26 ball game. Before you blink, and the Cardinals can't put it away. Fourth quarter, they held the Eagles to basically nothing, and the Cardinals are the ones that scored the touchdown at that. So it's great when your opponent scores, so you can go down and score right after them. But you cannot let another negative is you cannot let a team come back when you have a 16-0 lead in the first quarter. That's what the Cardinals did in this game. A lot of things went right for the Cardinals, but the turnovers continue to kill them. We'll get into that here in just a minute, right? D-Hop had another huge offensive game. 9 catches, 169 yards, 1 touchdown. We already talked about the tight ends making big plays. Dan Arnold, 3 catches, 54 yards. One of them was that 25-yard pass in the first quarter that set up the long drive. And that first drive kind of set the tone a little bit. Max Williams had a huge 1 catch only, but it was for 42 yards. He rumbled down the sideline. Important parts of the game for these tight ends to get involved. Now D-Hop, as I said, scores 9 catches, 169 yards, and a touchdown. Let's watch his touchdown catch here. I mean, just the catches that he did this weekend were just amazing catch. Which one is better? Let's look at D-Hop here and his touchdown pass.
Just remember, Kenyon Drake went out for a while with an injury. Toward the sideline, there's Hopkins again. Wow, touchdown, DeAndre Hopkins.
So back shoulder pass, he catches it, gets into the end zone, ball's kind of on his shoulder, defenders draped all over him. Great catch, right? We're used to seeing that with D-Hop this year. Short time he's been here. We've enjoyed it. We know what he can do. It's been fantastic to watch. Can he do any better? I don't know. He had a Hail Mary earlier. Let's see if he can do anything better.
And Murray's going to set up to heave it deep downfield, and that ball is caught. Hopkins.
I mean, he goes up and gets balls. Larry Fitzgerald could do this earlier in his career. Where he could go up. You could throw the ball up there, and he would go get it. D-Hop's the same type of receiver in terms of doing that. Fantastic. Goes up. Bails his quarterback out and throws it into double coverage. Catches it. No fear. Not afraid to get hit. Comes down with the football. Huge game for the Cardinals. And, like I said, he bails his quarterback out. D-Hop, fantastic addition to this team. We can't thank Houston enough for giving up on him. We'll talk about his after-game antics this week in the press here as we get to the end. So it's not all roses with DeAndre Hopkins by any stretch of the imagination. But just some fantastic catches to help the Cardinals out and just get the ball in his area. He will come down with it, even if he's double or triple team. Another thing I want to give props to is Larry Fitzgerald does get his first touchdown of the year. And what a catch it was. So which one's better? The D-Hop one over the middle that you just saw, or this Larry Fitzgerald touchdown pass?
Mid-80s. Now Murray scrambling, throwing on the run. Did he catch that? What a catch it was by Larry Fitzgerald!
I mean, Kyler Murray scrambles out to his left, throws on the run, kind of one-hopping it while he's throwing, with his feet. While he's throwing the football, the defender's got his back turned to him. He just puts it next to the defender. Larry cannot see that ball until it's basically at him. Stabs the ball out of the air, catches it. Touchdown! What a great way to get your first touchdown on the season. He's had other opportunities where Kyler's missed him. So it's great to see him make that catch on a terrific throw, but even awesome catch at the other end. I consider that the best catch of the weekend, although the DeAndre Hopkins touchdown was pretty spectacular, as well as the catch across the middle. But Larry had a defender in his face, back turned to him. You have to trust that defender's not going to turn around if you're Kyler Murray throwing that. Great, great catches by the receivers on the Cardinals' side of the ball. Just fantastic to watch. Larry didn't have the best statistical game of the weekend by any stretch. As I said, DeAndre Ayton, 9 catches, 169 yards, a touchdown. Larry Fitzgerald only had 3 for 35, but spectacular catch in the end zone. Can't argue with that at all. You stepped up when we needed you, and you were there. That's what the Cardinals need from Larry, especially in those hard pressure situations. We already talked about the one negative where the fumble was on the first drive, and they, DeAndre Hopkins fumbled it, of course. My one thing about that I will say is after he fumbled it, you watched him throw his gloves off, take his gloves off and throw them to the side. I was reading after the game, he threw them off. He said he took them off because they were too small. He said they were 4X gloves, and he wears 5X gloves. Those are some huge hands for 5Xs. He's got to have, like, taped up and stuff, too, right? Nobody has hands that big just naturally, do they? Maybe. Big hands. Big hands, DeAndre Hopkins. As I said, the other negative is the Cardinals did let the Eagles back into the game. They had to defense had to stand and keep the Eagles out of the end zone to end the game, and it was close. I mean, you had to breathe a little. You're holding your breath a little bit at the end of that game for it to happen. But it wasn't the defense's fault necessarily why the Eagles came back into this game. Cardinals turnovers. Cardinals defense did give up a touchdown on an Eagles 3rd and 20. They gave up a conversion on another long 3rd and long, really, really long for the Eagles in this game. You cannot, if you get them to 3rd and 20 and you do your job and get them back that far, you cannot give up the first down on 3rd down when it's that long. They did it twice in this game, unfortunately, for that defense. The thing that's getting concerning for me, we talked about it in week 14 when Kyler Murray had a fumble and then Kenyon Drake had a couple fumbles. They didn't lose anything, but fumbles have crept into this team a little bit the last couple weeks. Though they didn't lose any in week 14 or 15 or 14, this week they did lose them. 3 fumbles and 2 were lost in the game. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins won, and Kyler Murray had another fumble where he's getting hit and he's got the ball all loosey-goosey and he loses it there. It's concerning how fumbling is sneaking into the Cardinals' offensive guys when they have the ball. And it's also concerning when it happens. Obviously Kyler Murray's trying to make a play. Ball gets, thing out. DeAndre Hopkins should not be fumbling there at the 5-yard line to begin the game. Ball security is key here. And it's something to watch going forward. It's just started happening in these last 2 weeks. Needs to be curtailed and needs to stop happening for the Cardinals to continue to have success here to finish out the season, because they do need to keep winning to get into the playoffs. The thing that we saw for the first time really this season, and you don't want to see it ever, there's no good time for this, 0 good time for this, and that's turnovers in the red zone. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins, we've said it numerous times now, I don't mean to keep harping on him, but he had the fumble at the 5-yard line on that first drive. Kyler Murray's interception, where in the 3rd quarter, when the Cardinals had the ball, we drove down the field, could have put the game up 26-20. Cardinals, they're driving down the field. He throws it right to the Eagles defender in the end zone, getting 0 points on a drive where you could have at least gotten a field goal, let alone a touchdown. Keeps it a 6-point ball game. What happens right after that? Bad interception in the end zone. Eagles go down and score a touchdown on 9 plays, 50 yards to tie the game at 26 in the 3rd quarter. Just, you cannot have turnovers in the red zone. Can't stress that enough. It's basic football at that point. And that's what allowed the Eagles to stay in this game. The Cardinals could have been up 13 points in the 3rd quarter with a touchdown there. Or they could have been up 9 points with a field goal in that situation. So that way, when the Eagles go down and score, it's not a tie ball game. There's still a score behind. And it takes a little pressure off of the Cardinals to close out the game. Instead, they allow the Eagles to go down and tie it up afterwards. I'd like to see that cleaned up a little bit as well. Cardinals' running game is another negative I notated during the game. They struggled. As I said, Kyler Murray didn't do a lot of yards on the ground. He was only 8 carries, 29 yards, but he did have the 1 rushing touchdown for about 8 yards. But his threat to run opened up the receivers as he rolls outside and scrambles toward the sideline. Is he going to run the ball? Is he going to throw it? Defenders have to come up to defend the run of Kyler Murray, and then he finds an open receiver. So got that. But Chase Edmonds was 11 carries for 47 yards. Kenyon Drake, 10 carries for 26 yards. Eagles' strategy obviously was to stop the Cardinals' running game. They did so, and the passing game did step up, like I said, with all those catches that we saw a minute ago, with the yardage, the tight ends, fantastic on the passing side. But the running game struggled. Got to get this running game going. It's just when they have bad running games, which happens in the NFL, don't get me wrong, but you need to get out there and you need to be able to get some yardage, especially at the end of the game, because the issue that you have, right, is so, right, it's 26-26 after that Kyler Murray interception in the end zone. Next drive for the Cardinals at the end of the third quarter, turnover on downs. 8 plays, 42 yards. Don't convert the fourth down. After the fake punt, 4th and 2 at the Philadelphia 33. We're going to talk about this in a minute when we get to field goals. That would make that a 50-yard field goal. Cardinals went for it. Didn't convert it. We talked about it last week. I'm concerned about the kicking game because Zane Gonzalez could get the ball to the 50-yard. He could at least get it there. He wasn't necessarily accurate. Mike Nugent can't get a 50-yard field goal, folks. I don't think so. He hasn't proven he can. And there's an instance here where the Cardinals passed on a field goal attempt and went for it and didn't convert it because they know their field goal kicker can't get it there. Cardinals offense has changed, and we'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But in the fourth quarter, right in the beginning of the fourth quarter, Cardinals force a punt of the Eagles offense. They go down, they score a touchdown. Kyler Murray, 20-yard touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, 33-26. The score is now for the Cardinals up in the fourth quarter. Eagles get the ball back. 13 plays, 54 yards. Turnover on downs. Cardinals defense, 4th and 21 at the Arizona 22. They obviously need a touchdown. Passing complete. Cardinals held them on this long, pass attempt. They got to him finally. The defense, they did give up a 39-yard pass on this drive, but they then, after that pass, 8-yard run by the Eagles, then a sack, a 0-yard sack, then a 5-yard pass by the Eagles, then a negative 3-yard sack, where Gardak got another sack. Fotu got a minus 8-yard sack. 3rd and 21, passing complete. 4th and 21, passing complete. Turnover on downs. Cardinals defense stuck. So, right, offense gets the ball back. You're up 33-26. Great stop by the defense. Cardinals get the ball on offense. What do the Cardinals do? You guys know the story on this when they don't have a running game. 3 plays, 9 yards. Cardinals have to punt the ball. 22 seconds off the clock. Minute 35, they have to punt the ball back to the Eagles, down 33-26. When if they had a running game, they could have ran out the clock. They didn't have to give the Eagles the ball back, and they didn't have to sweat it out here on the other side. Need the running game, especially at the end of a game, to take the time out of the clock so you don't have to sweat the other team coming back. And on this drive, 3 plays, 9 yards. 5-yard run. Kenyon Drake up the middle, 5 yards. Then a Kenyon Drake up the middle, no gain. Then a 4-yard run by Kyler Murray on 3rd and 5. 1 yard short at the Arizona 27. So it makes it 4th and 1 at the Arizona 31. They have to punt it back. Didn't have to be in that situation if you could get your running game going. That's why the running game is important and why I have it as a huge negative in this game on the Cardinals not getting the running game going. Then they had to punt the ball to the Eagles. Eagles went 10 plays, 47 yards, a minute 28 total time off the clock, right? They're in crunch. They need to get down the field. I believe at this point in time they had 1 timeout. They had used all the other 2, stopping the Cardinals' time when they had the ball earlier when they were running it for no gain. All they had to do was get a first down and the game would have been over. Then the Eagles get the ball back, and they make it interesting. They get all the way down to the Arizona 31. And then 3 straight passing completions, and obviously the clock runs out on the Eagles. Cardinals win the game 33-26. That running game needs to get going for the Cardinals to be successful and win some of these games. They held on to this one. 16-point lead in the first quarter. Pretty much dominated the beginning of the game. They let the Eagles back into it because of turnovers and not scoring because of those turnovers. This game should not have been close. If they were playing a better team, it would have been a little bit, probably a different ending, but it doesn't matter. Cardinals win 8-6. Fantastic. Let's talk about the field goal unit, right? We on this podcast, we track the field goal kicking. We've done it all year long. I said weeks ago, long field goals are going to be. He was making them at the beginning of the season. Zane Gonzalez. I said at some point he's going to start missing them. He started missing them. They make the switch to Mike Nugent. All right, see what he can do. Is the offense going to change? Is the question I have been asking. Last week, his first game, what was it? 4 field goals, all none longer than 37 yards. Cardinals only had 2 kicks in the 30-yard range before last week. We gave that stat on last week's podcast. This week they come in, only 1 attempt. It was a 40-yard field goal. Mike Nugent did make it for the Cardinals. But as I said, Cardinals' offense has changed. They used to kick field goals on 4th down around the 30-yard line, 50-yard field goals. 48, 49, 50-yard field goals. In this game, Cardinals went for it on the 4th and 2 in the third quarter from the Eagles' 33 instead of trying a field goal. We saw last week at the end of the half, they had a 50-yard field goal that they had to go for because the clock was out. They ended up getting a penalty, so it didn't count. But Mike Nugent left it way short. So it begs the question of, do you want a field goal kicker that can get it there? It might not be accurate. Or do you want your offense to change like it has? It hasn't hurt them yet. Is it going to hurt them? I said earlier in the season, those long field goals the Cardinals were relying on is going to eventually hurt them. And it did. They lost a couple of games because of it. Because Zane Gonzalez couldn't make them. So now the opposite side. Cardinals have done good the last 2 weeks on getting closer in for field goals. Is that going to continue? Is this better for the team that they are trying to get the ball in closer and not relying on those longer field goals? I think it is better. I think they need to get the ball in closer and not rely on a 50-yard field goal. 55-yard field goal. So Mike Nugent not being able to kick those, he might be able to make them. We haven't seen any evidence of it. I'd like to see evidence of it before I say he can. But usually 38-year-old kickers struggle at that distance. Obviously, you get older. Nothing wrong with it. But the Cardinals haven't had any long field goals. And the one instance in this game where they had it, they went for it. Let's keep an eye. We're keeping our eye on it. We've kept our eye on it all season. We're going to keep our eye on it moving forward. But it's not negatively affecting the Cardinals now, just like it did earlier in the season. So we're going to roll with it, right? Until it starts negatively affecting this team. I just hope they don't get in a situation at the end of the game where they need a 50-yard field goal to win. And they can't get it there. I would rather see a wide left or wide right field goal from that distance than a one that lands 10 yards short. But that's just me. If it's short, you have no chance of making it. If you can get it there, you at least have a chance, right? Time of possession, we also track in this game. Time of possession is huge to me. We've talked about it numerous times. There have been games where the Cardinals didn't win time of possession. And they won the game. And then there were times where they did own time of possession and they lost the game. It's just an arbitrary stat, but it does show how the defense does, right? And how fast the offense, sometimes it shows how fast the offense scores. Eagles in this game, 32 minutes and 13 seconds time of possession. Cardinals, 27 minutes and 47 seconds. Eagles won the time of possession in this game. But the Cardinals ended up winning it. Cardinals got a few balls in short distance after that block punt, right? They scored a touchdown. They only had the ball for something like 8 seconds. 16 seconds. Eagles had a few long drives. Cardinals didn't have to have as many long drives because they got the ball in short possession. So that sometimes will sway it. So we're not going to worry about the time of possession here. The defense, to me, didn't look tired at the end of the game. They were just getting slashed by passing yards from a young quarterback with a threat to run. As they went, they were probably more on the tired side, but I didn't think it wasn't like they were out there for so long at times that they were just exhausted. So I think this is just one of the games where time of possession is just going to be a little weird because of field goal position on offense that the Cardinals got. Overall, just a good game. Cardinals didn't play their best. Kyler Murray, it was fun to watch a QB battle. Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts both lighting it up. Tons of yardage. You just got to stop the turnovers from Kyler Murray. I'm starting to believe Jalen Hurts is going to be something Jalen Hurts is going to be something special for the Eagles team. They have another problem there with their quarterback, Wentz, who they can't get rid of. A lot of money. Could cause some dissension there. That team definitely has woken up with Jalen Hurts as their quarterback. And they look spectacular out there. After this game, some notes. You got bad news on that Cardinals defensive front. Team's already been banged up. They're missing a lot of their big stars on the defensive front seven. And one of the surprises this year, and a great story, Dennis Gardeck in there. Injured his knee at the end of the game, late in the game. Has to go on IR this week, which means he is out for the rest of the regular season and the playoffs. He has been a bright spot on that defensive line. He was just a special teamer. Gets his opportunity this year. The coaching staff did such a great job of putting him in a position to succeed and help that defense out, and he took full advantage of it. He had 7 total sacks on the year and only 93 defensive snaps. He had 2 in this game. He's a big loss. He stepped up for this depleted front line of the Cardinals defense. Stepped up hugely. This year, when he wasn't expected to be in there because they had other guys that have gotten hurt. Here's an interesting stat about him. He has 3 games this year with 2 sacks. The only other NFL players to do that, Myles Garrett, of course, all-around stud of the Cleveland Browns, Trey Hendrickson, Oliver Vernon, and T.J. Watt are the only other NFL players to do that. So Dennis Gardeck is going to be, one, he's a great story. It's fun to watch. Got the long hair. But he's also going to be missed because he has performed. He has done his job on that defensive line. He has stepped in and improved that defensive line as all the other injuries have happened there. And the Cardinals have been decimated on that defensive line. So who's going to step up on that defensive line now and take Gardeck's spot? So defense changes again this week, at least on the front 7. Who's going to step up? This weekend with the 49ers, C.J. Beathard, I believe, is getting the start for the Niners. We'll talk about that here in a minute. After the game news here this week, 3 Cardinals were named to the Pro Bowl. DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, and Budda Baker. Congratulations to them. Of course, there is no Pro Bowl game this year due to COVID, but at least they got named, and that's fantastic for them. Here's an interesting stat about Kyler Murray. He was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week this week, following his performance in the Eagles game. He's the first player in Cardinals history to get this award 3 times in one season. He's won the award 4 times, once last year, 3 this year. So 4 total. He's trailing Kurt Warner for the most in team history. Kurt Warner has 5. Kyler Murray probably isn't going to beat it this year, but you expect him to beat it early next year, right? With his performance and everything? Absolutely. One thing I do want to address on, but I don't want to spend a ton of time on, I know a lot of other people have. I just, I'm always worried when players focus on what the media says about them. I'm always worried you're being distracted as a player when you bring it up and talk about it on end and you lecture the media. This week in his media time, DeAndre Hopkins addressed the concerns some of the media and some of the people have about him missing practice. He misses every Wednesday. It's a Veterans Day off. Larry Fitzgerald gets it. A few other players get it. I could play you all the audio from that call. I'm not going to do it. You guys can find it if you haven't heard it already. It's all over the news. It's all over the talk radio. I didn't even talk about it on my Wednesday night radio show. Then when it happened on Wednesday. It's just disappointing. It drives me nuts. I can't stand when players complain about their coverage. He says that he doesn't see it. His grandfather told him that the media is talking about how he doesn't practice. Who cares? Do your job. You're doing your job. But D-Hop did say one thing, that I want to address here about this. I get it. They're humans. They want all positive coverage. He's having a hell of a season. But you don't need to go to the media and complain to them about how they're complaining about him not practicing and they're talking about it, all that. But DeAndre Hopkins, in one part of this rant, I'm going to call it, I don't know if it was a rant. It was more of he just wants to let people know he's annoyed and he doesn't listen to them. That's what I get annoyed about is DeAndre Hopkins repeated several times how he doesn't listen to any local stations or anything like that. His grandfather does, and his grandfather tells him all the negative stuff being said about him. Dude, knock it off. Knock it off. You're listening to it. Spare me. But DeAndre Hopkins says, quote, "For those people who don't understand football and just watch, there's a reason that I play football and they watch. I don't really listen to it." I'm one of those firm believers that you don't have to play the sport to follow it and understand it. There's a lot of coaches in this league that are successful that never played NFL football. Did Bill Belichick play NFL football? Maybe he did, and I just don't know it. Did Andy Reid play professional football? Maybe he did. I don't know. Look it up. He didn't. And I just can't stand when athletes start talking like this. They're more worried about their press coverage. They're more worried about what people are saying about them. Man, focus on your season, dude. Then he says he doesn't really listen to it. He does. Dude, DeAndre, Mr. Hopkins, you listen to it. It bothers you that people say you don't practice. I just don't like it when athletes start delving into this round and they get it off their chest. It's really annoying. It is. He went on to say, quote, "My play speaks for itself," unquote. So if you really think your play speaks for itself, by the way, it does. His play does speak for itself. 103 receptions on the year, second in the NFL as of now. 2 games to go. League leading 1,324 yards, 6 touchdowns. Heck of a season. Pro Bowl. Gets elected to the Pro Bowl. His play does speak for itself. Then why are you going on a 10-minute rant about how you don't listen to local coverage of you? And you don't care about it, but you spend 10 minutes telling the media how you've heard that they say he doesn't practice and he doesn't like it. I hate it. There's rumors out there in Houston that he had a diva complex. We hadn't seen it here yet. Is this the start of it? I don't know. But I do not like when they do this stuff. I get it. You're human. You don't like people saying negative things about you. I get it. You think you're doing everything right. You're having one hell of a season. Practice or no practice. But stop saying you don't care when you so obviously do. Stop saying you don't listen that your grandfather does and then tells you, because you do. You hear it all. And it bothers you. And it shouldn't. You're one of the best, if not the best receiver in the league. People are just saying their opinion. Hey, he's not practicing. You had some bad games, DeAndre Hopkins. You did. Absolutely, you did. And so people have the right to question if your practice habits affected your chemistry with Kyler. Obviously, it hasn't. You've had a great couple games again. Huge games these last 2 weeks. But you address it when you have after 2 good games instead of when you were struggling there in the middle of the season on that losing streak. It drives me nuts, guys. So hopefully that all gets knocked off. But rest assured, he listens. He knows. He wanted to send the message to the media that he listens and he knows, but he wanted to be coy about it. Just stop it. Get out there. Let your play speak for itself. You're doing a great job, DeAndre, Mr. Hopkins. So hopefully we don't see any more of that. Next up, 5-9 San Francisco 49ers. Come to Glendale. I shouldn't say come to Glendale because they've been practicing here. They've been playing here. This is their home for the remainder part of the season. So basically 2 home teams playing each other in Glendale this weekend. It's a Saturday kickoff, 2:30 p.m. Phoenix time. It's on Amazon Prime or whatever they call it. It's on Amazon. However, if you're local here in Phoenix, it will be locally aired on Fox 10, so you don't have to have Amazon. I imagine in San Francisco, it'll also be shown on their local station because the home teams, everybody else in the country has to have Amazon to see it. Division rivals matching up. 49ers are 5-9. They've been struggling. They've been injured all year. As they've gotten players back, they've had good games, but then they go bad again. The quarterback situation isn't good. Their defense has a ton of injuries. Mostert's back. He's running all right. Quarterbacks are bad, though. C.J. Beathard is supposedly getting the start this weekend for the 49ers. George Kittle, who's one of the best tight ends in the league, is coming back from injury this weekend. Is expected to play. He's been practicing. However, Richard Sherman and Jimmy Ward on the 49ers defense are out. That's kind of big for Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Best cornerback and defensive players are all out for the Niners. They already have a bunch of other injuries. There's 2 more that aren't going to play this weekend. As I said, the 49ers quarterbacks haven't been good. Even Jimmy G when he was in there. Garoppolo, he's been injured for a while. So bad, 49ers went out and signed Josh Rosen off the Tampa Bay practice squad this week. And Josh Rosen's going to be the backup quarterback. Kyle Shanahan came out and said C.J. Beathard is going to be playing. Josh Rosen's nowhere near ready. Of course, he doesn't know the offense. And the only way C.J. Beathard's not going to go out and play this weekend is if he gets injured. And then you'll see a Josh Rosen signing, which brings a little bit of intrigue, of course. We all know the story. Josh Rosen was drafted by the Cardinals, played here for a year in that bad year with Steve Wilkes, and then, of course, was traded to Miami after they drafted Kyler Murray. That would be an interesting storyline. However, Cardinals do need this game to stay in the playoff hunt. They currently hold the 7th playoff seed. The Bears beat the Vikings last week, and the Bears are 1 game behind the Cardinals. And I do believe, with a little bit of research, that the Cardinals, if the Cardinals lose to the 49ers and the Bears win, get the 7th seed due to the tiebreakers. This game is important for the Cardinals. There's no reason they should lose this game. The 49ers are not good. They are injured beyond belief. The defense should be able to get in there, stop the 49ers running game, stop the 49ers running game. This is going to sound familiar. Make the quarterback throw the football. Make the quarterback make the plays. Make Brandon Ayuk and C.J. Beathard beat you. I just said that about the Eagles. And Jalen Hurts did a good job passing the football against the Cardinals. I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than what the 49ers have on their roster. Absolutely. Cardinals need this win. They win this weekend. They control their destiny, of course. They control their destiny now. You want to control your destiny going into week 17 against the Rams. Rams have a big game this weekend. Rams win, they're in first place. They lose. Cardinals can actually catch the 5 seed, depending what Tampa Bay does. If the Rams lose this weekend and the Cardinals beat them next weekend, the Cardinals win this weekend. A lot of playoff implications with just this game in their division and what happens with the Cardinals. Huge game. I expect the Cardinals to come out. I expect the Cardinals to dominate this game. And I expect the offense to put up a lot of points. I expect the defense to not let the Niners stay in this game. I expect the offense to not do turnovers and keep the Niners in this game. I think we're looking at like a 32-17 ball game. Cardinals win at home against the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Cardinals will start hot again. I think they'll get up early. It's important. No turnovers, and the Cardinals will not let the 49ers in this game. You turn the ball over, 49ers will stay in this game. They are a good enough team. And don't get, there's a division rivalry. They want to ruin the season for the Cardinals, and they can do it. I don't think they're going to be able to. So Saturday at 2:30 p.m. here in Glendale, I expect the Cardinals to go out, beat the 49ers. And how great would it be to be at 9 wins? Cardinals can still get to 10 wins, folks. That would be a fantastic year. But even 9 wins would be a fantastic year, considering where we were just 2 years ago, and even last year. If the Cardinals lose to the Niners, it's going to be depressing. So, but I don't think it's going to happen, so we're not going to speak about it. Of course, I'll be back next week reviewing the 49ers game on Saturday, and then looking forward to that Week 17 matchup against the Rams. Obviously, the tone of the show is going to be different on where we stand. If we're still in the playoff, in the 7th spot, perfect. That's a big game next week. And the Rams can make it even better if they lose this weekend. I believe they play the Seahawks. It's going to be a fun 2 weeks of football. Let's get the Cardinals victory this weekend. Of course, you can follow me at SMAC500, SMAC500. And always at the Main Event Pod. We do the show notes. Of course, I post this on YouTube. Post it there along with the audio podcast versions of this podcast. I appreciate you tuning in all year long to the Cardinals Rewind. Fun little side project I do. Break down football, discuss football, my unique perspective of football. I've gotten some feedback lately that I'm a hot take changer. No, I just look at football a little bit different. The X's and O's are fascinating to me. How guys get open. Fake punts, scoring after things. I look at things, like the field goals, for instance. Nobody was watching the field goal distances early in the season. I looked at it week 2 or 3 and was like, leaving alone field goals. So just different perspectives. And if I'm wrong, disagree with me. I absolutely love the conversation. Let's have a talk about it. Love to hear your thoughts as well on the Eagles this weekend. So follow me at the Main Event Pod and also SMAC500. I'll see y'all next week, and go Cardinals.